But let's move on to the 5 takeaways and see what 5 things we can take away from that 1-1 draw in East London last night. And the first up, we're going to look at better Basuma.
Yeah, and much better showing from Yves Basuma. Ange was in high praise for him after the game, saying that he thought he was excellent, and something that Spurs fans have been calling for in recent weeks because of his maybe performances regressing since the first 10 games of the season. In the end, it was 1 tackle, 2 interceptions, 96% passing accuracy, which is a very good total. Obviously completed his only dribble, but made a number of recoveries during the game. I thought really helped nullify West Ham, and I'm really happy that Ange was heaping praise at him because I thought it was a good display, and hopefully he carries on in this vein of form.
Yeah, and I've been heavily critical of Yves Basuma probably since those first 10 games of the season, since those red cards, and I felt like that was probably his best display since then. Still not maybe to those levels of those first 8 games, but still a massive step in the right direction. He was getting the ball, he was driving forward, he was being really hard to play against. Defensively, I thought he was spot on as well, putting out so many fires in the middle of the park. And I think it's one of the first things I said to you after we left the stadium yesterday, well, that was much better from Yves Basuma today. So I think we just need to see more of the same and keep growing. If you can use that as kind of like a base performance and keep growing on that, then I won't have too many problems with Yves Basuma. So you got to commend him for the performance that he put on the pitch last night in a hard game as well against a hard midfield. You're looking at those midfielders that they have: Paquetá, Ward-Prowse, and Souček as well. You know, it's not an easy midfield to play against. So you got to give props to Yves Basuma for the way he did conduct himself on the pitch last night, especially after a few hard performances and the hard moments that he's going from, with a lot of criticism coming his way. But let's go on to number 2, and that is West Ham's wide threat nullified.
Yeah, and Kudus and Bowen obviously been in fine form for West Ham this season, causing a lot of teams a lot of problems. But I think credit needs to go to Porro and Udogie yesterday, because I really think they helped nullify that threat from out wide and made sure that when West Ham were on the counter or getting any sort of possession, that's not where the concerns are coming from. And I think they did that on the day. They won 13 of their 23 ground duels on the day, made 7 tackles between them, and they restricted Kudus and Bowen to only 1 key pass in open play. And no shots. Only Bowen had 1 shot throughout the whole game. Kudus didn't have a shot. So they did really struggle to impact the game offensively in the way they usually do. They're usually very effective at getting goal scoring positions, getting in effective positions, and they were heavily restricted yesterday due to the quality of our fullbacks, I felt.
Yeah, and I felt like Ange knew, I mean, it was obvious about the threat that these kind of players can pose. And I felt when we were in that defensive shape and that Porro and Udogie stayed a lot more wider maybe than they usually do. And it was to our massive success in terms of trying to deal with them. I thought Udogie and Pedro Porro both put in defensive masterclasses yesterday, both of them, but particularly Porro up against someone like Mohamed Kudus. You know, Mohamed Kudus can burn anyone, and when you're looking at Porro with the narrative around him saying he's not that good from a defensive standpoint, I thought he was probably one of our best defensive players yesterday, and Udogie as well on the other side. And there were massive reasons why they just couldn't hurt us really for the most part of the game. So massive big up to those two, and Van der Ven and Romero as well was a massive part of it. So I thought from a defensive standpoint we were much better than we have been in recent weeks coming up against top players as well. But let's move on to number 3, and that is Brennan on fire.
Yeah, and again, this time from the start, luckily he got a goal contribution. He opened the scoring with a good run across the defender, exactly what Ange has been asking him to do. That's now 6 goals and assists in his last 6 games for Spurs. So he's really consistently getting those goal contributions. Now it makes it 12 overall for the season, which actually means he's now overtaken his tally from last season for Nottingham Forest. I believe he got 11 last season. So really great stuff for Brennan Johnson, and maybe he's starting to turn the discourse around now.
I think so. I think it's something that we spoke about last week in terms of his recent performances. And again, I've been critical of Brennan Johnson this year. I've been saying he's been getting the goal contributions, but his performance level haven't been up there to match it. But I think now, in the past 4 or 5 games, you're really starting to see a massive increase in performance level and those goal contributions staying as well. So it's much to my delight. I think you're really starting to see him flourish in this Ange Ball system. And he just gives us that natural fit for what Ange wants to do on that right-hand side much more than like a Dejan Kulusevski. If Dejan Kulusevski is starting right wing yesterday, that goal doesn't happen, in my opinion. And he stays wide as well. He gets good crosses in the box. Yesterday, that went to waste because no one was really attacking those space, and it was hard to with that West Ham low block, But I'm very, very happy with Brennan Johnson, and to bring his tally up to more contributions than James Maddison this year, I think is brilliant for Brennan. And for a first season, looking at his age as well, I think you can only give him praise, and you can only say he's going in the right direction, and he keeps improving. So big up to Brennan Johnson. Let's move on to number 4, and that is that corner problem.
And Spurs yesterday conceded the equaliser yet again from a corner where Kurt Zuma's went off Kurt Zuma's back. That was the 6th goal that Spurs have conceded from corners this season. More only, that comes from a 9 XG as well. So we are consistently conceding a lot of chances from corners this season, which is not it's been a bit of an Achilles heel for Spurs, and especially recently. That's now 5 games in the last 10 that Tottenham have conceded a goal from a corner, and in all competitions that is, and it has been quite costly. Drop points to the likes of Everton, knocked us out the FA Cup against Man City as well, obviously lost the game against Wolves from a corner, and now drop points against West Ham due to a goal from a corner. So it's something that we really need to try and sort out, because it's been a problem all season, and it's something that Ange has been very stubborn about, but hopefully that's something that going forward we can really sort out, because at the moment it is costing us.
Yeah, it's been a problem for us all season. I just have one request, Ange. Please go and hire a set piece coach, because we need it. We need it desperately going forward, attacking set pieces and particularly defensive set pieces. It's hurting us too much, and if we had a set piece coach and he coached us into defending set piece as well, you never know. Look, that can happen against anyone against West Ham, because they're that good at attacking set pieces, but you never know. We could have just nicked that game 1-0 yesterday. So I just have one request to Ange: please get that set piece coach, please, I beg you. But let's move on to the 5th and final takeaway, and that is prefer being behind.
And this is Spurs, actually. I was drilling at the stats, because recently, obviously we've all been calling for Spurs to, have faster starts. We keep falling behind, we keep having to come back, and I've been looking at how Tottenham perform in certain game states. So I've been looking at how Tottenham perform when they take an early goal, when they score first, and also how they perform when they concede first, and the results are quite interesting. When Spurs take the looks, obviously yesterday we took the lead, but ended up drawing, and a lot recently we've gone behind but ended up winning those games. So this season, when Spurs have taken the lead and gone 1-0 up, when the game is in that game state of Spurs being a goal to the good, they have created 11.48 XG but conceded 14.5 XG. When Spurs concede the first goal and are 1-0 down, they've created 13.02 XG and only conceded 5.44 XG. So I don't know what it is about this team, but we much prefer going behind. When we concede the first goal, we tend to up our game, and I don't know what it is about our approach, but we barely concede a chance, and we really take the game to the opposition and create a lot more chances. Take into account as well the game state of these figures. There's been about 200 more minutes while we've been 1-0 up rather than 1-0 down. So in 200 less minutes, we've created about 2 more XG in that game state when we're behind and we're leading. So I don't know what it is. And there was maybe more evidence of it yesterday, but for some reason we don't take advantage of when we're taking the lead, and yet when we go 1-0 behind, we seem to really up our game.
Yeah, I mean, it's perplexing, to be honest, when you're looking at it. I remember a couple of years back, I can't remember if it was under Pochettino or Mourinho or whoever it was up against. Maybe it's been a constant thing with Spurs, but I just remember narratives coming from the stands being like, all right, we need to go 1-0 down to wake us up now. And then we come back and absolutely batter the team. But maybe it's just a case of when we go 1-0 up, we just seem a bit too comfortable.
We rest on our laurels.
We rest on our laurels a little bit. And then when we go 1-0 down, we're like, all right, we need to kick up the arse now. We need to go for the throat. And we get those goals in like kind of short spurts and turn the game around. Maybe that's the case. But I mean, that's the only thing I can clutch on, really.
Yeah, it's hard to put a finger on why this season we seem to concede a lot more when we go 1-0 up. And you're thinking, when you go 1-0 up, that's where you should want the opposition, because all of a sudden they need to come out a bit, they need to leave more space, and that's exactly what you like. You like more space, but it just seems as though when we go 1-0 up, we struggle to control games as well as we go 1-0 down. We seem to have more control over it, and maybe it's a case of we're not clear in our mind what we want when we take the lead. Do we want to keep going for more goals, or is it like...
I know what Ange would say.
Yeah, obviously we want to go for more goals, but maybe we struggle to know how to go about that. Do we maintain control of the game in the same way when we go 1-0 up? Because it kind of like, when you go 1-0 down, you know what you need to do. You need to really take the game to the opposition and do those things in a certain way. But it's like almost as if like when we go 1-0 up, it's like, okay, do we want to draw them out a bit and sit back and then hit them, or do we want to keep our boot on their neck? And I feel like maybe there's a bit of confusion there.
Yeah, potentially. It's just very frustrating, isn't it? And I said to you as well when we were leaving the stadium yesterday, like, it was so frustrating with that dominance in the first 15-20 minutes, because if we get that goal, if we get that second goal, I really felt we would have gone on and absolutely battered them yesterday. It was just unfortunate that we had to concede from that set piece and the time in the game that we did, because we were so on top, weren't we?
So maybe going forward, instead of saying, all right, I want a fast start today, we say, all right, let's go 1-0 down in the first 5 minutes and then we can go at it.
Exactly.
Just give them a goal.
You guys just let them score in the first few minutes.
I think from kickoff for every game now, just go straight to Vicario and just give them the goal.
It's like that on FIFA when on Ultimate Team, when you need to lose that game, or when you should just get that game,
just give it
straight all the way back to the keeper, own goal, and we start from here.
I think that's the best way going forward.
All right, well, that is our 5 takeaways. Let me know in the comment section below. Do you agree? Do you have any more takeaways from the game? Let me know in the comment section. We got a couple of super chats to get through before we go on to react. Video Complete said Sonny can't play in the number 9. He can't score a header. It's true, he can't score a header, but to say he can't play number 9, I think is a bit, well, way too harsh on Sonny, because I do think he can play number 9. I just felt like yesterday was probably not the right game to play him number 9.
People are like every number 9 always plays like the best in every game. Like, players can have off days, strikers can have off days. Doesn't mean they can't do it. Son has 16 goal contributions in 17 games as a striker. I mean, if that means he can't play the number 9, I mean, I don't like. So you just completely take away all those goals and assists when he has played in striker. Everyone always looks at the games where he doesn't play well as evidence, but they don't look at the games where he does play well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's had much more. He's had better games at number 9. He's had more better games at number 9 than he's had bad games. And that's just the reality of it. And I love Son in the number 9. I really do. But in hindsight, maybe it would have been better to maybe play him on the left yesterday and Richarlison up top from the off. Next one from Andrew Dean, member for 11 months, saying, just want to remind that Ange out, folks, to be patient. It's Ange's first season. Even Klopp, Arteta and Pep needed a few seasons to gel. Give our man time. And
who are these Ange out folks?
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot in the chat, to be fair, and I think it's absolutely mad to say Ange out at this
trolls,
stage.
Surely. You can't. No one's genuinely Ange out. Surely. You've got to be a troll at this point if you're Ange out, in my opinion. Although I have seen a lot of people, again, on social media, I think we might have liked some of the tweets, like people are, I see a lot of people suggesting, oh, we haven't played well all season, we haven't played well since the first 10 games, all this kind of stuff. I do think it's a bit ridiculous, but yeah, I think maybe the consistency hasn't quite been there for a while, and I think that's a fair thing to throw at us. But we're still a work in progress, and I'm seeing a lot of good things from Spurs, in my opinion.
To say we haven't played well since those first 10 games of the season is massively disingenuous. But to say that we haven't reached those levels that we've had in the first 10 games season, there's a case to say that. But it's been very stop and start. I mean, those first 10 games of the season, we were top of the league unbeaten.
Same 11 every game.
Exactly. No injuries, fresh squad. It was unbelievable. We haven't reached those levels, I don't think, since then. But we've had, I think it's only recently in the last couple of weeks we've started to get our first team back, like our whole complete 11 back. So it's been harsh on Ange, because, you know, we were top of the league unbeaten, and then suddenly his whole team gets wiped out.
And it's not just that, as you say, it's also a first season. Just because you have a good start doesn't mean there won't be challenges after that which you have to overcome, not just injury-wise, but, you know, teams start to figure how you're going to play. So you have to adapt to how they're now combating you, and that leads to different challenges. And it was obviously always going to get harder as, you know, after that initial period. It was great that we started that way, very unexpectedly, but that wasn't to say that that's how then we should expect us to play for the whole season just because we have that period. It's his first season. Everything's always going to be a work in progress. There's always going to be issues to figure out. Players are still learning the system, all that kind of stuff. And I think we're in a very good position. And there's going to be days like yesterday, and there's going to be days like the Villa as well. That's how it goes in the first 10 games the first season when it's a new manager and a completely different way of playing. So for me, I'm being patient. I'm liking what I'm seeing, and people just need to realise where we're at.
Yeah, absolutely spot on.